course, this is just a very short introduction that I'm doing for my students in robotics, and in order to explain them in 3 slides, roughly speaking, what is a LibreRacket. And the objective is truly to go very fast. And then after that, I will address the case of the multi-body mobile robot. That means that how to use this machinery to prove that multi-robot systems are small-time controllable. In the second part of my presentation, I will address the question of the steering method. What kind of steering method we may consider in general for this system. Okay, then let us very quickly. Then the differential geometry addresses the question of the manifold. Manifold, what does it mean? Each point has an ego which is homeomorphic to Rn. Okay? Then, example, the mobile robot moving in the plane. Then this is SE2 or R2 times S1 is a 3-dimensional manifold. There are structures, of course, which are not manifold if we consider. Okay. Then a key point in the manifold is to focus on the tangent space in P. The tangent space at a point P is the linear space which is spanned by the derivative of P. That means that already at this level I put some frame on that, and I don't want to enter into the details. What is a vector field? So vector fields is an application that gives to a point of the manifold a vector in the tangent space at a point here. Okay. And then, as an example, for the mobile robot moving in the plane, you may consider x, y, and theta, and the vector fields that map this point on this vector, which is cosine theta, sin theta 0. In fact, this is a velocity, and this is the linear velocity of the robot, while the second is the angular velocity. Then what is a distribution? A distribution is a linear subspace of vector fields. Okay, and then an example of distribution is typically for the mobile robot moving in the plane. That kind of distribution, y dot cosine theta minus x dot sine theta equals 0. It defines an equation in the tangent space at point x, y, and theta. This is the equation of, this is what we call a distribution. And now what you have to keep in mind as a picture is the following one. You are considering the manifold in red, a point in the manifold. A vector fields is a set of functions that map a point to a vector in the tangent space of at the point. Okay. And now, what is the relationship between vector fields and trajectory? There is a fundamental theorem that tells you that there is exactly one trajectory gamma going through P and following a given vector field. Okay, where the vector field is constant. That means that gamma 0 is P, and at any point the derivative of gamma at time t is supported by the vector x evaluated at the point gamma of t. Okay? Then this is, again, this is completely trivial for you. And we introduce the notation exponential here, which is exponential x is the point which is reached after a time 1. Okay? And then this gives you that picture. Once you have selected a vector field here, if you apply it to a point P, there is only one trajectory that goes through P and supported by these vector fields. Okay. And now, from this, it's possible to define two systems of coordinates. One is the following one. You want to go in that direction. You apply first you choose basis of two vector fields x and y. You apply x during a time t, and then you arrive to that point, and then you apply y during a time b, and then you arrive at that point, which is typically p dot exponential ax dot exponential by. Or you can consider the vector fields ax plus by, and it gives you directly, you reach that point. The quick question is that these points are not the same. Okay, then they are not the same. And then the the role of the Lie bracket is to account for this difference for the difference between the two systems of coordinates. And then this is typically what arises here. If I move forward, if I turn a little bit, if I move backward and I turn like this, I don't go back to the same point. While in general, if I am considering a translating system here on the board, if I take one vector field and then the other one and then the opposite, I go to the beginning. But in that case, no. Okay, and what we can prove is that if I reduce the time, that means that I move just a few centimeters, just a few radians like this, and then like this, of course, I will converge to the starting point. And by taking the limit, these points here give you a direction, and this direction is, by definition, the vector fields, or the Lie bracket of vector fields x and y. And there are effective ways to compute the coordinates of these vector fields. And the main property of these vector fields is that they are antisymmetric and they are verified the Jacobi identity that gives the Lie algebra a special structure here. Then example with the mobile robot, okay, then you are considering that one. You apply the formula to compute here the coordinates of the Lie bracket, and you obtain typically the sliding motion for the car, which are okay. And then now the critical, the connection between the exponential is given by this formula. The product of the exponential is equal to the exponential of the sum plus some infinite series that apply with coefficient lying in the free Lie algebra spanned by x and y. Okay? Then I named this formula, I don't know, Campbell, Baker, or Stord-Dinklien, because it appears differently according to the books you are considering. Okay? Okay, then, of course, this is basis for you. But now, when I have a holonomic distribution, by definition, this is, and we have seen that at the first lecture, this holonomic distribution is distribution integrable to a non-trivial manifold. And then you have the Frobenius theorem, as you say. This is not to prove that the system is non-holonomic, but it's holonomic. Then that say that a given distribution at P is holonomic if the rank of the linear space spanned by all the Lie brackets you may consider, evaluated at the point P is equal to the rank of the initial distributions. Okay? That means that you have a reduction of dimension with respect to the dimension of the manifold you were considering.
Excuse me.
The reachable space is
move to the. It would be better if you.
Like this.
I think maybe simply this to the left, not. When you, because this is better with this side. Because
it's to be the most possible at the left.
Some not prevent to see.
Yeah, excuse me. No problem. Okay, then Frobenius gives you that. But let us assume that your system is non-holonomic. That means that the the rank here are different. Then in that case, that means that the dimension of the retrieval space is greater than the dimension of the distribution, the initial distribution, but the question is to check if you are able to reach all the dimension of the manifold. And in that case, if you are able to do that, in that case your system is, say, maximally non-holonomic. Okay, then this is a maximally non-holonomic distribution. It's a distribution which does not reduce the dimension of the reachable space from P. Okay? And then there is the accessibility theorem here that gives you, this is the Lie algebra rank condition. There is a neighbor of P whose all points in the manifold, that means dimension n, are reachable from P if and only if the rank of the linear space spanned by all the Lie brackets evaluated at the point P equal the dimension of the manifold. And this is definitely a local property. And if the property holds for any point, your system is said to be small time controllable. But the main consequence for the planning problem is that if a system is maximally non-holonorm, then the existence of a collision-free trajectory is characterized by the existence of an open connected components in the collision-free configuration space. Okay? That means that you may apply that by approximation, you compute any path and then you may approximate that. Okay, okay, then for the roboticist, it's a critical. Okay, then this was just for the introduction. 10 minutes of materials for people who have been trained only in computer science, as my students. It's quite dense. For you, it's obvious. Okay, then let us consider now this system here, which is the multi-body car system. Okay, there is one car here, or one mobile robot, and several trailers. Okay, okay, then let us start very slowly by making the modeling. This is the case of a multi-body car system. Okay? Then it is made of B0, which is the car, and B1, Bn, and trailer. Okay. A car and trailer. Right. Okay, now if we are considering the placement of each body, the placement on the plane is defined by 3 coordinates, x, y, and theta, for each body. Then the dimension of the placement space of all bodies is 3 times n plus 1. But of course, there are holonomic links. What are the holonomic links? Here, there are the links that say that the trailer is attached, the trailer I is attached to the previous trailer I minus 1. That means that you have some constraints equation here that will reduce the dimension of the admissible space. Okay, this is just to say that my trailer is attached to the previous one, okay, with parameter or the lengths are equal to 1. Then we have 2n equations, two equations by trailer. Then the configuration space of the convoy is then appears as a sum manifold of dimension 3 times n plus 1 minus 2n equal, obviously, n plus 3 in the placement space of all bodies. Okay. Then at this level, then a parametrization of this submanifold can be done by considering the n2 here x, y, theta 0, that means that the position of the car, and theta 1, theta 2, theta n, this is just the angle of the trailer. Okay. And in fact, we may consider a change of coordinates by putting phi as being the difference between the two angles, phi I as being the difference between the two angles here, and that gives you...
It's possible, one question. So you don't know the lengths of trailers?
No, we know the lengths of the trailer are fixed and are known, are constant for all of them. I will give you the case where the lengths are not, but this is perfectly, and the lengths are equal to 1. There is no constant, as you can see. Okay, and now I address the non-autonomic links. That means that the equation of rolling without sliding. Then for each body is rolling without sliding, then it's submit to that differential equation by making the placement space of all bodies. Okay, and now by using the configuration space, that means by using this equation here, it's possible to make the elimination of the variable x and y for all trailers, and we obtain, in fact, that kind of constraints where the x and y variable of the trailer completely disappear. It remains only that one in the tangent space, in the configuration space. Okay? And now we can say that the degrees of freedom of the convoy is equal to the dimension of the configuration space, which is n plus 3, minus the number of non-holonomic constraints. There are the car plus the trailer is equal to 2. And obviously, there are the 2 degrees of freedom of the car. Okay? Okay, then, what are the solutions? What could be a basis of this two-dimensional distribution? Then there are some computation, but it's quite easy to show that this distribution can be spanned by these two vector fields here. Okay, then that one is very easy to understand. Why? Because this is when the car, this is not a car, a mobile robot is turning on the spot, only, and because the hooking up system is placed exactly at the center of rotation of the car, then only the phi 1 is moving. The other phi are not moving. And this is also. And here, when the mobile robot or the car is moving a straight line forward in a straight line, then phi 1 varies as sinus phi 1, phi 2 varies as cosine phi 2 sinus phi 2, cosine phi 1 sinus phi 2, blah blah blah. There are computations involved. Okay, then now I have the problem. Is my system non-holonomic? It's clear, yes. Why? Because just make the Lie bracket of the first two, and then you have a third dimension. Then that means that the rank of the linear space is greater than the rank of the distribution. Then it's non-holonomic. But my question is this system maximally non-holonomic? And now, here I have to apply the Lie algebra on condition. Okay, then for the proof, I made the proof in 90. I give you the proof, but it's not necessary to enter the detail. Try to imagine how to make that proof. In some sense, we would like to have we have the two vector fields at the beginning, and we are trying to complete the basis. To prove that this is a basis, I want to prove that there will be a determinant, a very huge determinant, which is everywhere non-null, non-zero. Okay? I want to provide the basis, okay? The basis of all the manifold. How to do that from this vector? And in fact, this is a specific proof here, and after that we will, idea is the following one. It took time for me because in some sense this is not truly a recurrence approach or iterative proof. Okay, then I just explain it here. I start with the two vector fields here. And now I build the following sequence here. Okay. And I take x A, x B, the basis of the distribution. And now I consider at the first stage the only possibility is to have the Lie bracket x A, x B. That's it. But instead of continuing with that, I consider linear combinations of these three guys here. Then I introduce x1 star as a cosine phi 1 x A plus sine phi 1 x1, that means the bracket. And x1 asterisk, asterisk we say asterisk in English, yeah? The
Star.
Now the star and asterisk. I would like to make the distinction between that and that.
It's a star.
Okay, and I consider that one. If you are taking a look to that, I consider in fact XA, then the initial vector fields here, plus the bracket, and I apply a rotation matrix. I put myself in the direction of the trigger. Okay? And then for the second one, instead of considering x1 or xa, I consider the Lie bracket here of these two guys. Okay? Then this is x2. And I consider x star and x asterisk 2 in the same way by considering x star 1 with x2 and x star 1 with x2, etc., etc. And here I arrive then by an iterative way to build that basis. Okay? This is I spent several weeks before, and then you will see why I choose that basis. And then the first property is that, okay, let us compute the general shape of the coordinates. Okay, for xi there are base coordinates, and for the other one there are base coordinates here. Okay, but what I try to do is to control the xy asterisk. Why? Because you can see here that I control here, except the first two terms here. Okay. Here I have only a column of 0 with -1 and 1 that decrease according to the rank of the trailer we consider. And then by doing that, the intuition is that at some stage to compute a determinant it will help. Okay? And in fact, this is what happens, because at the very end, I obtain a determinant which is like this, which is cosine something minus sine the same thing, cosine sinus the same thing, and cosine the same thing being that. Okay. The theta minus the sum of all phi I here. Okay. By the way, then I have here there are some value I don't care, and it remains then cos square plus sin square, then this is 1, and I consider the minor here, and the minor, to compute the minor here, sorry, and the minor is just given by minus n power 2n, which is equal to 1. Okay. That means that the system is small time controllable, and we found a basis that works everywhere. It does not depend on the point you are considering. Okay? The same basis applies everywhere on the manifold. There are no singularities with this basis. Okay? This is what I call well controllable. That means that you can apply exactly the same strategy at any point, okay, by using that kind. Okay. And then the property is that the multi-body system is maximally non-holonomic, and in terms of control, it's controllable. Okay. Okay, then this was the proof is just a proof for a special case. This is, I don't know, there is a kind of a chain form, okay, which is quite obvious, but the question was to capture this form. But let us go back to the practical issue with only one or two traders. Okay, then let us consider now the point of view of the control. If you are considering that the convoy, the first body of the convoy, I say a car, but it could be a unicycle. Unicycle, you know, this is the guy moving on only one unicycle. It's possible to control the linear velocity, and just by making that to the angular velocity. Unicycle. Then there are these equations for the control of the car. Okay. Now, if you are considering the two driving wheels mobile robot, which is the mobile robot with two driving wheels here. In that case, you are controlling the acceleration of each wheel. Okay? But from a geometric point of view, and from planning point of view, you want to go from a position to another one, you are considering you don't care about the velocity here, because you will stop, for instance. Okay? You care mainly about x, the variable x, y, and theta, which are concerned by the obstacle avoidance. Okay? Then with this construction, it's possible to, from a geometric point of view, if you are considering only the variable x dot, y dot, and theta dot, then in that case, you can see here that the vector fields are cosine theta, sin theta 1, V1, and cosine theta, sin theta minus 1, V2, and the two velocity. And obviously, this span exactly the same distribution as the previous one. And this is the same distribution for that system and for that system. Now, if I consider a real car, for a real car, from a control point of view, you are considering the front wheel as the steering wheel, and the rear wheels, we have seen that, are parallel. Then in that case, you are controlling the acceleration of the vehicles, and the velocity of, you are controlling with the steering wheel, the velocity of the angle phi of this guy. But again, from a geometric point of view, if you are considering only the three first variables, this gives you that, and again, this is the same distribution as for the unicycle. Another example which is quite strange is the following one. You are considering this system where there is a car, then the first body here, you control only the linear velocity. You cannot control the angular velocity of the first body. But there is a motor here that allows you to control the angle between the trailer and that. This is a system which is used for mine, in the mine exploitation for the mineral, for the extracting the stones, okay, then in Canada in principle. And then there is a system which is like this. If you want, you have the, okay, no, it's exactly like this. Then the other system are, I am on the car here, and I am driving like this, and this is a trailer. And here, the driver is sit like this. And then he steers the system by looking in that direction. And then he steers like this, by using the linear velocity for that, and the angular velocity of this guy. Okay. It's very, very strange. Okay, then let us put the model of control, and this gives this control, and it can be rewritten to see that, in fact, this is exactly the same as the unicycle with one single trailer. Okay? Then for all this system, it's possible to prove conclusion. In order to prove the controllability of each of this system, we can work from the vector fields appearing in the differential model. That means that a single proof will give you the proof for all the systems. Okay? And this is what we did by considering the first proof. Okay, then this is very specific. But now, let us consider that you want to provide an algorithm, systematic algorithm, to prove that for 2 or 3 trailers, for other systems, you would like to have a constructive proof of the Lie algebra condition. I consider here the computational aspect of proving that. Okay, then as you know, then the idea is to build in an incremental way the field fraction, which is associated to the distribution. We are considering first the basis, and then the Lie bracket of length 1, the Lie bracket of length 2, 3, etc., etc. And there is an inclusion like this that gives you the. But the question is how to compute that in a systematic way. Then the controllability theorem will tell you that the associated system is controllable if and only if there is an instant, a rank from which the dimension will stop increasing at some stage, and if the final rank obtained is equal to the dimension of the manifold. Okay? Then this is very clear. But now the question here is how to do that in a systematic way. Then the question is how to consider a basis of the free Lie algebra. Okay? That means that I may consider that I compute all the brackets of length 2, all the brackets of length 3, all the brackets of length 4. But this is absurd because we know that there are some brackets which are antisymmetric, and we know that there is the Jacobi identity. Then what I would like to provide is a basis. That means that I would like not to spend time to compute the vector fields which are linearly dependent with respect to the identity of Jacobi. Okay, then how to do that? Then this is the notion of Philippe Hall family that has a very, very accurate definition. Then this is combinatorics at this level. This is no more differential geometry. This is purely the combinatorial issue in the Lie free algebra. In the free Lie algebra. Then I don't want to enter into the details because it's quite technical, in the sense that, okay, then the very first, the basis, the original basis, belongs to the basis you are considering, the Philippe Hall family. The number number in this family, of course, in this basis is infinite and finite. You put an order on this basis, starting from the fact that from the basis at the beginning you put an order at random, and then after that the order is deduced by the degree of the Lie bracket you are considering. That means that a Lie bracket of length 3 are less than Lie bracket of length 5. Okay? And then the key point is here. You add an element to the family PH, if this element, of course, belongs to the Lie algebra, with a degree which is more than 3, and you add it if and only if X is of type bracket U bracket VW. This is normal because this is length more than 3. Okay? With U, V, W being previously in the basis, that this is an iterative procedure, and then the both brackets are already in the family, and the bracket VW is also in the family, with V less than U, less than VW, and V less than. Okay? Don't ask me to prove. Huh? For that, I learned that from Bourbaki, the very first book of Bourbaki, I think, on the combinatorics of the Lie algebra. But what I tried to do is from this definition to make an algorithm. And it's possible to make an algorithm here, which is given, okay, and to transfer them in iterative procedure. One of the big questions is, what is the complexity of this algorithm? And this is a computer science question, a combinatorial question. Then, of course, the family is infinite, but you ask the question to build in a systematic way all the bracket whose length is less than 100, for instance. How to do that? Then, first of all, how many brackets there are in this basis which are less than 100, and how to compute all these Lie brackets in this family in an optimal way. Is it a linear algorithm, linear with respect to what? With respect to the output. Of course, this is not linear with respect to the input, because there is an exponential increasing in the number of Lie brackets, but linear in the output. Is it possible or not? Then this algorithm is almost linear. The only trick is that I didn't succeed in removing this instruction where I have to make a backward reasoning here to prove that. And this is an open question here. Is it possible to build this basis in the optimal way? A question which is answered is the following one. How many elements there are at the level I? I consider all the brackets of level I in this family. How many elements there are? And the result is known. Again, this is Bourbaki, but I like this result. Give a look. Then the number of elements of length E is equal to 1 over I sum over all the divisor of I, mu of D, D being the divisor of I, n dimension of the manifold, minus R dimension of the distribution, I over D, D being again a divisor of I, where mu is the Möbius function that takes a natural number and that map a natural number into either -1, 0, or 1, and that gives for m, mu de m equal 0 if m is the square of a prime integer, and -1 power k, otherwise, where k is the number of prime integer dividing m. Okay, that's, and you may apply that for a system here if this is 2, like for the multi-body system. If you are considering the system with 2 trailers, for instance, you obtain for the length, let's say for the length which is here, length 2, 3, 4, 5, there are exactly six elements for the length. Okay? And you can see that at the very beginning. Then now, this is the systematic way to prove that your system is controllable. Okay, then there is a very nice combinatorics. Then let us now apply to my favorite system of a system with 2 trailers. Let us make the effective computation for that. Okay? And for that, we start here. I remind what are the equations with 2 trailers. There are the 2 vector fields here. And I start proving that you look to what happens here. I start then with x1, x2, x3. In this order, I test x1, x2, x3, x4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Okay? I add each time, I add a vector field, and I check if it is linearly independent or dependent from the previous one. Okay? And this gives you that. x1, x2, x3, x4, x6 is a basis for any point verifying phi1 not equal to p over 2. And the procedure stops with x1, x2, x3, x4, x9 for the other point. What is the proof? The proof is here. First of all, x5, you compute x5, and it appears that x5 is equal to x1. Okay, then you cannot consider x5. Okay. And then you compute, no, you add x6, and then you have x2, x3, x2, 3, 4, 6, and the determinant of that gives you minus cosinus phi1. Okay, great. You win. Okay, you win in the sense for the points which are phi1 not equal to p over 2. But what about the other points? Then at this level appears the singularity. Okay, the singularity appears for phi1 equal exactly p over 2. Then you continue, because if you are at the point where phi1, on the submanifold where phi1 is equal to 0, you have to continue. You compute x7. x7 is new. I don't know why, but x7 is new. x8 is equal to minus x3. Okay. x9, okay, compute the determinant with x9, and the determinant with x9 is minus 1 minus cos square phi1 cos phi2. And because I am considering the point where phi1 is equal to p over 2, okay, I can see that this basis, x1, x2, x3, x4, x9, is a good basis for the singular point where where phi1 is equal to p over 2. And this defines what we call the degrees of non-homonomy. The degree of non-homonomy is 4. That means that the length of the maximum Lie bracket here for points such as phi 1 is different of p over 2, and it is 5 at the other point. Okay? Okay, then now you have the... Okay, I will stop in a few minutes for the break. Then you have the notion of a regular system and the singular system. You can see here that for the regular system, the cross vector, the vector that tells you how the distribution evolves is 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? But at singular points, it's 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Okay? Why? Because the bracket of length 4 didn't give any other solution. Okay? Okay, now filtration will be regular at point where the cross vector is constant in the neighbor, blah blah blah. You know that. Okay. Then we can conclude that the three-body system with two trailers is not regular. The corresponding filtration verified that it is singular at the remaining points. For regular system, the degrees of non-anomaly is constant. Okay, and then now give a look. Okay, then this is. I think this is very basic for you. Perhaps this is the first time you see on the multi-body trailer. But keep in mind that in my previous proof, in the generic proof with n trailer, I gave a basis that was working everywhere. Okay? And in fact, the question is that in fact I was considering much longer bracket. Would like just to show you the idea. At some stage, in this transformation here, you remember it was the transformation I proposed. Let us take that one for xy, as we're taking a bracket of just at this level and the same level. That means the same length. That means that each time I was considering the double bracket in terms of length. I was doubling the length of the bracket. Then of course it was not optimal at all. Okay? But it gives you a single basis working everywhere. Okay, and from that, it's possible to address the question of the box theorem, where you find that I borrow from Gerskovich for this one, okay, then for regular system, and then the underlying metric is as the metric I proved for the Carlyle yesterday, and the same shape, the distance from 0 to C, and the size of the ball, verify that kind of inclusion, where the hyperparallelepiped here have exactly this shape, where epsilon is at the power of the degrees of non-anomaly. Okay, for each variable here. And this makes the connection for that, and with that it's possible to address the question of the continuity, of the complexity. Okay? The number of balls you have to pave your space. And then you have a combinatorial result. This is what I like in this story. Most of the time robotics is viewed in the worst case as a domain of the computer science and information technology. Sometimes the domain perhaps of application for applied mathematics, just numerical analysis, just that. But here, this is the perfect example where robotics is very interested by pure mathematics. And I remember in '87 there were Jean-Jacques Rissler in Paris. I don't know if you met him. He is a guy from the algebraic geometry working with that. Invite me to speak about the application of pure mathematics. Not speaking about applied mathematics, but the application of pure mathematics. And this is truly the example I like, because we learn a lot by working with you as a general community of the geometry control theory. We learn truly a lot. Okay, and then you asked me, just to conclude that part, you asked me if it's possible to consider that system here with some length. Okay. Then the Hüntinger system is different, and you may play. Then there are singularities here that can be mechanical singularity. Okay. Whereby you computing that, it's possible to make the computation. But again, it's possible to solve the problem. The question which is completely open, and if you have two, but I will go back to that in a few minutes after. Now, I am considering the system with one travel. I forget about the equations, and I know that this system is a small time controllable. That means that I can go from any point to any other one. I remind you that the key point for me is, given a configuration with a given neighbor, I want to reach the point here without escaping the neighbor. Okay. Then there are the neighbor here was all the points can be reachable without escaping. But the question now is how to do that in an effective way. Okay, then this is what we call the steering method. I would like to define the steering method that accounts for a small space controllability for that. Then we have seen that for the car-like system we use optimal control, and this is very nice. I asked you yesterday if you are able to make optimal control for that kind of system. I am very, very, very interested. And I guarantee that you will have a great success in the robotics community. Okay? And optimal control for that. This is an open question. I don't know how to do that. Okay? Then how to steer my system from a given configuration to another one. This is the question. Okay? Then, what I would like to avoid.
Didn't Gautier get the answer?
Excuse me?
Gautier, Paul Gautier, didn't he get an answer for this?
Paul who?
Gautier.
Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Ah, Jean-Paul Gaultier, right. No, Jean-Paul, yeah, Jean-Paul Gaultier is a very good friend.
There was some mathematician from Poland, I don't remember exactly, in Paris, gave a talk.
Norowski.
Norowski.
The method, then I will explain to you. We have a method that I would like to introduce you, which is purely geometric and based on the flatness property. The method I know from mathematicians are mainly numerical methods, in the sense that they are considering nilpotent approximation of the system. And then if you are considering a nilpotent approximation of the system by cutting at some rank, then this is an approximate method. And then with some convergence property, you may converge, but if you are considering, okay, how to go from here to here, and then I made a contribution for that for the nilpotent approximation around the singularities by using non-homogeneous nilpotent approximation of the system. If you are using that, I'm sorry, but you are making a numerical computation. That means that you arrive in the neighborhood of the regime, as close as you want, with some convergence property, if you want. Okay, but what I will present now as a method is an exact method. That goes okay. Then I will solve that question. Okay. But now, if I am considering again that system here, an exact method in that sense here is a completely open problem. And to solve that, we use the nilpotent approximation. That means that where the exponential can be explicitly computed.
Exactly.
Yeah, by that. Okay. But here, I don't want to do that. Okay. Okay. Then, what is the trick? The trick is that my system is singular in the sense that it's not generic, it's flat. Okay? Then about the concept of flatness, it's known, I don't know. You are considering, okay, in this system, you are considering the x, y, theta phi, then this is a four-dimensional system. But now I give you just the point here, which is the middle of the wheels of the trailer. Then give a look. I give you the position of the trailer. Okay? And I don't know if it's like this, or like this, or like this. And then now I give you the trajectory of that point. Okay? Give you the trajectory of that point. Then, now, I can tell that the direction of the trailer is like this. Okay? By derivative. Okay, and now I can build the position of the trailer. But now the second derivative gives me the center of curvature of the trailer. And then it's possible for me to build okay, this is like this. Okay, then here this is the point. This is the point of the car, because I know these lengths. Okay, and I know that there is a single instantaneous center of rotation. Then this gives me the direction of that. Then what is a flat system? It's a system here of dimension 4, but you are able to characterize fully the system just by two variables, some manifold of dimension 2, where with these variables and their successive derivative, it's possible to rebuild the entire system. Then this is a special property. This is a special property of the system, and a necessary and sufficient condition for a system to be flat when it has two inputs is that the filtration should be like this. Okay? Then, for instance, it didn't work for the counter-example where the filtration was done. Okay, and what I like with this approach, it's that it's a purely geometric approach. In what sense? Here is the method we were considering here. This is not a generic method, this is a special method for this case. Let us consider a given configuration here that gives you a specific position here, like this. Then we start with that. I say that for any configuration C, there is a canonical course such that the angle here, which is phi, remains constant. Okay, there is it's quite simple. This course, this is just an arc of circle for that one, and an arc of circle for that one. Ask the driver to follow this arc of circle, okay, and the angle here will not change. Then at each configuration C, I have a canonical curve gamma C, verifying that. And now, what is the idea? The idea is you want to go from C0 to C1. Then you have a gamma 0 and a gamma 1. Okay? And then the idea is very simple. Make a convex combination of both curves. Roughly speaking, and this is very, very fast here. But you are now, I am considering here in the four-dimensional space. You have, this is not an arc of circle, this is in the four-dimensional space. Then I have the C0. Okay. In the neighborhood, I have C1. This works, of course, only locally. I have another canonical course. Here, this is gamma 0. Here, this is gamma 1. And then the idea is to make a convex combination of both curves like this. And you are right at that point here. And once you are at that point, you are making a backward maneuver, except of course if C1 is here, you have direct path here. Okay? But if C1 is here, you have that. What we prove, in fact, is that by using this strategy of a convex combination of canonical curves, with this strategy, what we prove is that starting from C0 with gamma 0 here, the reachable space, by using that kind of strategy, gives you a cone. There are here the point you can reach by using that strategy here. And then now what you prove is that if your C1 is very far from the cone, very, very far, okay, you don't know how to make that. But what you do is that you make by dichotomy. Okay? You apply, and at some stage, C1, or after some iteration, C, will, the canonical curve of C1 will necessarily intersect the cone, the accessibility cone of that. That means in that point here, there exists a convex combination that's deeply down, where you reach that point. And then, once you are here, you are using a backward motion like this. Let me show you by the software here. And you can I'm anticipating on the lecture tomorrow. I will go back with this software here, but here I will just show you. At that stage, I don't want to consider the obstacles, and then sorry because I don't have the feedback on my computer. This is not so optimized in terms of okay. Okay, then the starting configuration. This is here, you can see the robot, X, Y. When it becomes red, you understand that there is a collision checker working at the same time. X, Y, theta, okay, and phi. Okay? Then let us save this configuration here, and now let us take a goal. Let's take a simple example here. Perhaps like this, and then let's save. Okay, then I hope, because I don't know, but I hope that now I want to show the reference. this is the magic button, solve. Okay, then it has computed. Here is the shape of the linear interpolation of the following this principle. This gives you that kind of function. Okay, then the trace, the trajectory is the trajectory of that point here. This is not the trajectory of the trailer. But this is, we apply exactly that strategy. Here there is no cursor, of course. Let us assume that now I am changing the goal configuration here. And I put the goal configuration close. I don't know if it will work. No. Sorry. I have to change. I forget to say it. Okay. I don't know, I'm not sure that it will work. Why? Because because there are obstacles. Then in that case, I will go back. Okay, but it doesn't matter. I will go back on, forget about the pass, which is here. Then, let us try to solve. No, okay, then it succeeds, but you have a rough idea here of the trajectory. But the key point is that there are several intermediate points which has been computed here. Let us assume, for instance, that I changed. Okay, that one. That one is typically the behavior I would like to have. Okay. Okay, then this is that kind of a strategy. But again, what you have to understand at this level, there is no numerical computation. Okay, this is just the evaluation of a function which are very well defined from the canonical course, and we make a geometric computation on that. Okay. Okay, then if there is no question about that, I would like to conclude, to open the discussion by the full open problem. This is typically for you, I consider for the system. Then the first one I already defined here. for that kind of system by considering that the car is a Reeds and shape. Huh? Then this will be Reeds and shape plus trailer. Then again, this is mainly geometric in the sense that I would like the shortest path for the car to move from a given configuration to another one.
But I remember that yesterday you mentioned some problem, unsolved problem, regarding to this.
No, but from now, I would like just to show you open problem.
So even for one trail, it is even for one trail, it is.
Yeah. Then again, I will let you support a tutorial where you have all the equations. Okay. They are very simple. Huh? This is just x, y, theta phi, and the vector fields are cosine theta, sin theta 0 minus sinus phi 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay. And the shortest path for that, by considering that U1 and U2 are in the square. U1 and U2. You may consider, if you want, the convexify, then this will be not the Reed shape, but this will be a car that can move on the spot. And please keep me posted about your progress, because seriously, I will be very interested, not for practical reason, but because we truly identify that as a very difficult problem for us. Okay. Then this is the first. The second one is that steering method exact steering method for that system here, which is non-flat. Why? Because the filtration is two, three, five. Exact. By exact, I mean not using the nilpotent approximation. Not numerical. Without any conversion. Then I think that this problem is truly hard. Then there are some contributions by Yacine Chitour. You perhaps, Sergei, you met him at the seminar. Yacine Chitour. He is in, at LSS in Paris. Yeah, you see. And then he provides a solution, but I'm not very happy because with that, again, this is by considering converging sequence of control. That means that it remains numerical approximation. Okay, then I will be very interested by that. This is the second problem. Now, I am considering this system here, which is the two driving wheel system. Okay? The one like this. Okay? And if you are considering the U1, U2, the optimal control are bound. than there are here. Okay? Then there are the acceleration of the wheel. A cleaver, there are very nice geometry properties here. Let's just say a few words about that. If you are considering that control here, that means that same acceleration for both wheels. If you integrate the equation, you obtain the Klotowids. Klotowids, I don't know if you know what is the Klotowid. It's, no, I'm sure you know. This is a curve like this. Was curvature, the curvature is the inverse of the curvature is the inverse of the curvilinear axis. That means that you start from a curvature which is infinite, and then you have a finite curvature. You know about this Klotoid. This is the curve which is used to draw the road. Why? Because it's possible to make a turn with a very smooth. The second derivative is defined. There is no discontinuity for the second derivative. Then this is very smooth. This is truly used to design the highway, for instance, and for the cars. It's smooth. It allows to make a turn in the smoothest way possible. Now, you never heard about the Klotoid. It's very, very nice property of the Klotoid. Now, this is for that. For example, it's possible to follow this trajectory on the road with a constant velocity without having any jerk. Jerk, that means that discontinuity of the... in another way, the centrifugal forces which apply when you turn is continuous. You see the point? The centrifugal forces, when you turn, you have a centrifugal, we say that, centrifugal forces, okay? And which depends to the curvature, okay? And then, here, the centrifugal forces is continuous. That means that this is a high comfort for the driver. There is no jerk. And again, this is the curves that are applied for the highway in Russia and in France as well. I mean, this is truly done for the, okay. Now, what is very clever is that in some sense the Klotoid smooths. If you are considering straight line segment and arc of circle, like this, you have a discontinuity of the curvature, then there is a jerk. Then you start from a zero force, centrifugal force, and then here there is a constant centrifugal force with a discontinuity, with a jerk, if you want.
So curvature jerk.
Yeah. Okay. Then the interest of that is that it's smooth. This is used to smooth this one. Okay. Now, what is very nice, since the Klotoid are smoothing something, the Klotoids are here. What these curves here are smoothing, and these curves are involute of the circle. Involute of a circle. What is involute of a circle? I don't know if you remember. There is a corn which is like this, and then you start. Okay. You see what kind of curves it is? You know that curves. Involute of a circle. Yeah? It's okay? This is like, I don't know the name in English. If you consider something which is old here, you are just trying to do that by the way. And the curve is a involute of a circle.
And there is, yes, there is a special name for this course.
Yeah.
Involute.
Involute. No?
Involute, exactly, yeah.
Involute.
Involute.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But the nice property from a dynamic point of view is that the involute of a circle is a smoothing the cusp. What I mean by smoothing the cusp, it seems to be strange because the cusp is not smooth. No. Smoothing means the following one. If you are doing that path here, obviously here you have a velocity equal to 0, okay? And then you start with a positive velocity and then negative velocity, okay? Because this is something like this, and then like this. But what these curves allow is to make that motion with a constant rotational velocity. I mean, instead of stopping for a while and then go back like this, it's possible to have a motion where you can see that here there is a rotational motion when I am following that. Okay? There is a rotational motion. It's possible to make that motion with a constant rotational motion. You know, by doing this motion, my rotational velocity is constant. That means that there is, of course, you go to zero velocity for the linear velocity, but the angular velocity remains constant. In some sense, you don't stop here. Okay? And this is smoothing in that sense. You smooth the trajectory in the 3D space. That means that the velocity, the angular velocity is constant. Okay, then they are very nice. And these controls are applied on effective mobile robots. This gives you very nice motion like this. Instead of having a robot that make that, stop for a while, and then go back like this, you have a very smooth motion like this. Like a dancer, if you want. You know, you are doing that with the same angular velocity. And the control is very simple. Huh? You have just to have opposite control. That's it. Then, this is very well known. This is very nice. What is well known? Known is the number of commutations. Okay. Then this is the third open problem. Okay, that means that piecewise the optimal trajectory are long-bound, but in a global way, we don't know what could be the combinatorics.
Please repeat the word
commutation. Commutation. Switching point. How many switching points you need to go from a point to another one? We say switching. So number of switch. sorry for using the French name, then the number of switches unknown. Then this is the third problem. And the very last one is motion planning with collision avoidance. For not small time controllable system. That means that motion planning, if you want, for Dublins. Then we don't know, there is no procedure of decision. I summarize what I say. For a small time controllable system, any path can be approximate. And this is nice. We solve the problem of motion planning. For not small time controllable system, that means that for the car, the Dublins car, how to solve the motion planning problem? Is the problem decidable or not? I don't know. I don't know. And the question is the following one. Of course, sometimes you may can stop the. We can stop. This is with. Oh, okay. If you have a car that moves only forward, okay, you are in that situation, you are here, and of course it's possible to park the car. If there is only one obstacle like this, you go like this, and so you park your car. If there is another car here, okay, then okay, you are able to do that. But if there is a car here, of course, you can not do that. How to decide that it's doable or not? I don't know. Then this is the fourth. Right? Okay, then to conclude these two lectures on non-honorary system, here are the 4 open problems. Welcome to the club if you are interested. Okay? And this concludes the lecture of today.